Hey everybody, what's up? I'm just trying to set the camera up there correctly. There we go. You might see up there that the reviewer that I'm here to talk about a fellow Sonic fan, if you will, or more importantly, a reviewer of a long-time reviewer and reader of Sonic comics. Probably not as long as a lot of us, but he's been reviewing everything Sonic comic book related since initially about Sonic issue 19. And the person I'm talking about, you can see the title up there is Dan Drazen. And I'll provide a link to his site down below. But Dan Drazen has been reviewing Sonic issues for about, like I said, since issue 19. His most recent review being of 232, so you can just imagine how long that's been. So essentially he's been doing it for about 213 issues recently. As of recently, it's been 213 issues of the main comic. So far as other reviews of anything else Sonic comic book related, he's done so far 2 issues of Sonic X. He's got about 38 more issues to catch up with that, I guess. And then of course he's done about all the issues of Sonic Universe. About the more recent review, I think is 35 or 36. I'm not really totally sure on that. Again, you'll see in the link below. He's done a review for the entire Knuckles series, Knuckles comic book series. He's done reviews for all the super specials. He's done reviews for all the spin-off miniseries like Sally's, Tails, the Death Egg, Quest, you know, you name it. I think even the miniseries that began the Sonic comic book, and so on. He even does what is known as a best and worst list of the Sonic comic for every year. He's done one, I think, for 2010. I'm not sure if he's done one for 2011 yet. I'm pretty sure he's working on that as we speak. But this guy, obviously, if you really want detailed reviews, this is the guy you want to probably go to. Now, you might look at a picture of him, probably, if some of you that have been to his webpage and seen a picture, you're probably thinking, wait a minute, this guy looks like he's older than the rest of us. That might be true. That might be true. Now, you might say to yourself as well, maybe this guy is just using that picture to not allow the real him to be seen. Well, maybe not, but I can almost guarantee that that picture you see is probably the real deal. Because yes, there are people older than me, probably by 5 years, 10 years, if you will, that do work on that comic, that do read and review that comic. As a matter of fact, according to Dan Drazen one time, and one of the comic book writers of Sonic, I think it was Ken Penders, those two kind of kept in contact because Ken was always appreciative of Dan doing some criticism of the work. So that was really unique to find out. Now, Dan does give full detail in his reviews. He does it, and after he does his review, he does a scoring. He does a scoring thing for his he does his scoring tablet for his review. And what that scoring tablet is he basically scores it by 3 categories, and I'll tell you in a minute. Hold on for a second. Alright, sorry about that, folks. I had to put the bird in the other room. But anyway, like I was saying, he basically scores the every issue, every story, either it's just one whole story or it's the main story and a backup story. He scores them essentially in three categories: heart, eye, and overall, as far as I know. I think there's one more category, but the two main ones out of the 3 or 4 categories he goes by is heart and eye. Now, heart is basically like, what is the heart of the story? What is the emotional part of the story that really grabs you, really gets you emotionally invested, or gets you talking? You know, it really touches you. It's kind of like, this is the heart of the story. This is what it all is about. This is basically, even if that heart of the story is in the middle of the story, or even at the beginning, is basically, this is what it's all about. Or even at the end, that this is all what it's all about. That this is where you feel the emotion, you feel the connection. Now, despite how we feel about what happened to Sally in 230, you know, in fact, there's one fan in the video. You can see the video down here on my channel, called "The Worst of Sonic," or "The Worst of Archie Sonic 230." Basically, according to what Laser X5 said, because I didn't see the full video, and according to another viewer as well, basically one of the things he complained about was Sally didn't have the time to think things over. That Sally should have, instead of, you know, allowing herself to be roboticized, basically should have called on Sonic and said, "Sonic, come help me take this thing out, and then let's get out of here." That's what I'm assuming. I mean, again, if you watch the video, you probably know what I'm talking about. But Dan kind of basically, he looks at it like, he doesn't look at it in the same way. He's just basically, he looks at it like, he knows. When you read his review, it's like he already could tell you, and he knows. Well, he doesn't necessarily say it, but he just knows by doing this review that not a lot of people are going, that through the words that he uses in his review, just ignore that, I don't know who that is. But he just knows through his reviews. He just knows through his reviews that he just knows by putting the words that he does in his reviews. And I'm sorry for that, I don't know who that was. But he just knows through the words that he uses in his reviews. And I'm sorry if I repeat myself. The damn phone distracted me, and I hate that. Don't you? But anyway, he basically, by using the words that he does in this review, he kind of acknowledges, not specifically, but you could just tell he acknowledges not a lot of fans are going to like what's going to happen. Some will, some won't. But he does acknowledge that what she does is exactly why she alone, Sally Acorn alone, has a big and loyal fan base. Because basically, as he puts it in his review, and this is totally agreeable, she takes a bullet, if you will, not 225 bullet related, but she takes one literally, not just for her friends, but for the entire planet. So, that, my friends, I will agree, and yes, it will be a surprise to you, Ezekiel 300, that I will agree that that is kind of the heart of the film, the heart of the story, that basically she's willing to sacrifice herself without question. I mean, yeah, he does. Now, I'll probably read the review down the line, probably later on, but basically what he states is that she shows how much she loves the planet. Now, not just how much she loves her family and her friends, but how much she cares for the entire planet as a whole, that she's willing to sacrifice her own freedom, her own free will, just to save them. Now he does go on later on in a few other reviews following. I think he states in 231 or 232, one of the reviews I'm going to probably read later for you guys, that he's not sure whether or not Sally's doing what she's doing in her mecha form on her own, if it's of her own free will or not. So apparently we could say it's not. But again, I'll probably read 230 and 231 down the line, and 232 maybe, just to give you guys an idea, if some of you though don't know who Dan Drazen is, exactly what his reviews are like. So now, one thing that Dan does that I'm pretty sure a lot of people would be appreciative of is through his reviews. I mean, because like I said, this guy's been doing reviews since about issue 19. A review on not just the main comic, but everything Sonic related when it comes to comic books. He, Archie comic books that is. He basically also kind of has an idea of how things are going to pan out. Now, usually when it was like with guys like Ken Penders and maybe Carl Bowlers and a few others, he had an idea because he kind of kept in contact with them, but he basically had like an idea of what was going to take place or how things were going to pan out. And the way he does this, like with the more recent story arc, he says he knows things, like with Sally, he knows things are going to be okay because he basically, from what editor Paul Kalmitsky said, I think in an article called Road to 250. So he pretty much knows by whatever Paul said, PK said in that article, that Sally's going to be okay by 250. And that might be true. That might be true. And Dan, if you're watching this, I respect that. But I think what Dan's going to probably find out down the line is that, like the guy or not, Ian Flynn is going to probably try to throw even him off a little bit, because you know how Flynn has come out and said, and kind of asked the question to us, who says I'm going to end this at 250? So, but again, if you want a recommendation when it comes to a Sonic reviewer, a true Sonic reviewer, not saying I'm not and anybody else isn't, but someone that's really detailed, Dan Drazen is the guy for you. So I'll provide a link to his site down below, and I'll talk to you all later, and maybe I'll be back with by reading one of his reviews. Peace out.